Everyone on the ranch knew the wild dog was a disaster waiting to happen. None of the workers would step anywhere near him. They had given him the proud name Valor, but behind closed doors, they all whispered a different one, uncontrollable. Day after day, Valor slammed himself against the fencing so violently that the metal groaned, his guttural growls spreading across the dry training yard. No one dared come within 10 feet of him. Valor wasn't simply hostile. He was erratic, relentless, and feared by every adult who worked there. But all that tension, all the noise and danger, collapsed into an eerie stillness the moment a tiny silhouette wandered into the yard. A little girl, barely tall enough for her chin to reach the fence rails, strolled into the training area with a small backpack bouncing against her shoulders and pure curiosity shining in her eyes. She didn't understand the threat. She didn't catch the shouted warnings. She didn't notice the ranch hands sprinting toward her in terror. But Valor noticed her. "Stop her!" someone shouted. But it was already too late. Valor snapped his head toward the child, instinct blazing in his eyes. He lunged. What the girl did next left every grown man frozen in shock. Before we dive in, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Dust drifted through the old ranch yard as the men clutched the wooden rails tighter, their eyes locked on the massive German shepherd pacing inside the enclosure. Valor moved like a barely contained storm, fur raised, breath sharp and furious, his entire body buzzing with an untamed energy none of them had ever witnessed in a dog. "Don't stand too close," one worker warned, stepping back just as Valor launched himself at the fence again, his teeth flashing. The impact made the boards shudder. Another man muttered a curse. 3 handlers had already been injured in the last month, and nobody wanted to become the 4th. They had tried everything: treats, firm commands, trainers from the nearest city, but Valor rejected every attempt. He chewed through leashes, tore apart muzzles, and attacked anything that stepped into his face. Some believed he was beyond saving. Others swore he had gone completely feral. But in his fierce, tortured eyes, there was something more, an old, buried ache none of them understood. The ranch owner watched quietly, jaw clenched. "This dog is broken," he murmured. He was wrong. Valor wasn't broken. He was waiting for someone he could still trust. The yard had fallen completely silent when a soft crunch of small footsteps on dry dirt shattered the quiet. The men turned, color draining from their faces. A little girl, 6 years old at most, wandered toward the enclosure, her blonde ponytail swaying as she walked. She had no idea she was only a few yards away from real danger. "Sweetheart, stop!" a ranch hand shouted, panic tightening his voice. She didn't hear him. She kept walking, humming gently to herself as her boots kicked up tiny clouds of dust. Inside the pen, Valor stiffened. His ears shot upward. His eyes locked onto her, tracking her like a predator noticing sudden movement. A low, threatening growl rumbled deep within his chest. The men froze. "Grab her!" another worker yelled, vaulting over the fence. But he was far too far away. Valor exploded forward. Dirt shot into the air behind him as he barreled toward the child with a force that sent terror through every witness. The girl stopped mid-step, watching the massive dog hurtle toward her. She didn't scream. She didn't run. Her hands simply gripped the straps of her backpack. Then she did something none of them could have predicted, something that made even Valor falter. Valor skidded across the ground, claws tearing at the dirt, his growl ripping through the yard like thunder. The men braced themselves for the worst. One worker slapped a hand over his mouth. Another whispered, "Dear God!" But the little girl stood completely still. She slowly raised her hand, small, steady, calm, and held it out to the furious animal, palm open, as though she were greeting an old friend. "Easy," she whispered. The effect was instantaneous. Valor's rage cracked. His growl died mid-breath. His momentum dissolved into confusion as he dragged himself to a halt inches from her tiny shoes. The men stared, stunned. The dog's ears tipped forward. His rigid tail eased downward. His breathing shifted from fury to something far more uncertain. The girl stepped closer, dust swirling around her boots. Not a trace of fear showed on her face. She peered into the trembling eyes of the monster everyone dreaded. "It's okay," she murmured, and the dog who had nearly ripped grown men apart lowered his head and surrendered to a child. For several long seconds, no one dared move. The ranch hands stared at the once feral dog, shocked beyond belief. His chest heaved. His ears trembled. His eyes stayed fixed on the girl with an emotion none of them had seen in him, neither fear nor fury. Something achingly familiar. The ranch owner finally stepped forward. "This doesn't make sense," he muttered. "Valor has never acted like that, even with professional handlers." But when the girl gently touched the dog's muzzle, Valor didn't snap. He didn't growl. Instead, he closed his eyes, as though her touch had unlatched a door to something hidden deep inside him. One worker swallowed hard. "Boss, you never told us why he was brought here." The owner exhaled, guilt weighing down his voice. "Because I didn't want anyone pitying him," he said quietly. "Valor wasn't born violent. He lost someone." The girl stroked Valor's fur softly. The dog leaned heavily into her hands, desperate for the comfort. The owner continued in a low voice. "His former family had a daughter. Same age, same hair, even the same little backpack. They were in a car crash. The parents didn't survive, and neither did the girl." Silence gripped the yard. Valor opened his eyes, soft, grieving, remembering. "He wasn't attacking her," the owner whispered. "He thought he saw the child he lost." Suddenly, everything made sense. The wind settled as the little girl gently traced her fingers along the dog's muzzle. Valor didn't resist. He didn't twitch or growl. It was as though the world itself held its breath. She slowly knelt down, bringing her face level with his. "You're not scary," she said tenderly. "You're just sad." A lump tightened in the men's throats. Valor blinked, once, twice, and then pressed his nose against her shoulder. The girl giggled and wrapped her arms around his neck. Fearless, gentle, certain. The monster melted in her embrace. "Unreal?" a handler muttered, clinging to the fence as if the moment might disappear if he blinked. The ranch owner wiped at his eyes. All this time, he wasn't fighting us. He was grieving. The girl reached into her backpack and took out a tiny blue ribbon, the same shade the lost child once wore. She tied it to Valor's collar. The dog whimpered softly, leaning into her like he had finally found what he'd been missing. The wild dog was no longer wild. He was home. The ranch fell silent as Valor rested his head in the little girl's lap, his once ragged breaths now smooth and gentle. No one spoke. No one moved. They all understood they were witnessing something that training, shouting, and fear had never been able to accomplish. The ranch owner approached slowly. "Sweetheart," he asked softly, "how did you do that?" The girl looked up, still stroking Valor's fur. "He's lonely," she said simply. "Lonely dogs just need someone who listens." Her answer hit harder than any explanation the men could have offered. Valor shifted, placing one giant paw on her knee, not claiming dominance, but offering devotion. The ranch owner shared a quiet glance with the handlers, then knelt beside them. "I think," he whispered, "he's finally found his person." The men nodded, emotion thick in the air. The owner gently touched the girl's shoulder. "Would you like to look after him? Not as a dangerous dog, but as yours." Her smile brightened the entire yard. Valor's tail wagged for the first time in months. The untamable dog had chosen his new little guardian.